Bitcoin just made a brand new all-time high, but you know how the saying goes, never trust a Sunday pump. We just went all the way up to above $125,000 and then we immediately came back down liquidating some longs. Is that it? Are we going much higher from here? In today's video, we'll be talking about exactly this, going over the recent Bitcoin price action and addressing whether or not this flush is over. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. First of all, what a move by Bitcoin. In the past few hours, you can see that we had a massive move to the upside, exploding to 125.7K, depending on which exchange you're looking at. Now, we held this level as support, which you can see was one of the previous all-time highs all the way back in July. And then we ended up breaking right back down below. This is what I'm looking at here. If Bitcoin is to move higher and the pullbacks are to be shallow, we would like to confirm at the bare minimum above the previous all-time highs. So if we take this last all-time high here, right around 124.5K, ideally Bitcoin closes above there. So although this was a little bit of a flush, you can see that on the weekly time frame, this is a massive green candle. Don't kid yourself. To me, at least, this tells us that we will be moving much higher. But in the more immediate short term, I'm actually favoring a little bit of a short from this level. The risk to reward is there because there is so much liquidity to the downside. If I get caught out and this decides to explode much higher, I am perfectly happy with my spot Bitcoin. But you can see here that if the weekly closes below this previous all-time high, there is a little bit of an indication here that we could come back lower, tap into perhaps the value area high, or even just $120,000, which would find its way right around these levels, retesting this region before going ahead and moving higher. Now, if we start to accept back within this range, which at the time of recording this video, we're technically back in, at that point in time, we may have to accept the fact that Bitcoin can go ahead and roll over before it goes ahead and moves higher. There is still so much long liquidity in the market. I find it hard to believe that we will just continue exploding here. There's a lot of fuckery around Bitcoin breakouts. And we had the first tap, we had the second tap, this is the third tap. So it can indeed send us higher, but from a risk to reward perspective, I'm happy to take the gamble on shorting this before we go ahead and move higher. If we start to accept back above this level and back above this all-time high over here, then it's at that point in time where that thesis is completely invalidated and we move much higher for the last and final leg of this bull market cycle. A reminder, if you're new to the channel, as outlined, up, down, up. So you can see here, we went up from these lows, we came down, and as I shared in yesterday's video, I was fully expecting us to tap into this liquidity, but now we got an explosive move to the upside. These are the first initial signs of rejection, so let's see what we get here. But if we start confirming above this all-time high, we are going much higher in my opinion. Now, if I zoom out here, you can see that the last time that we were in a range like this and we exploded to the upside, we saw basically no pullbacks until a little bit later where we tapped into the top of this range. Now, you'll remember this range as something that I was addressing as the summer chop thesis. Hate to remind you of that. But anyways, we exploded higher. Very happy from a spot positioning for Bitcoin. And I know what some of you guys might be saying. Okay, what about altcoins now? Did we miss altcoin season? Not at all. If you're holding Bitcoin, as I've been doing, you can see that Bitcoin dominance continues to increase. This was our thesis on the channel. Whether or not we explode from here or we dump back into the range, Bitcoin dominance will likely continue to increase. And this is why I've been saying I've been extremely patient with my altcoin moves because honestly, I am perfectly content as a serious investor holding Bitcoin in this kind of environment. And actually, for those of you that love altcoins, this is exactly what you want to see. Best case scenario for altcoins, Bitcoin goes ahead and leads this rally much higher. Then we end up distributing much higher around these levels. And at this point in time, that is when we see that perhaps Bitcoin dominance will find its way up here. Then we start capitulating, and that is the altcoin season. When it's time for me to personally get allocated into altcoins, I will likely be swapping some of my Bitcoin into altcoins. I rode the Bitcoin wave on the way up, and I'm looking for entries on altcoins. Right now, Bitcoin still gives you the best risk-adjusted return returns in this market, and I still think that we find our way a little bit higher for Bitcoin dominance before this ends up reversing. That is still my base case. So let's see what Bitcoin gives us. It's going to be a relatively quick video today because you can see that we broke above, made that new all-time high. I had to just get this video out for you, and we flushed out some longs, but is this it? Are we going to confirm above that previous all-time high, which is found right around 124.5K, or is there more downside to come? Weekly time frame still looks as bullish as ever. You cannot ignore that. What a massive candle to the upside. Now in the short term, I shared with you how I'm playing this. I will be actually shorting this. However, if we start to get closes above this level, I'm completely closing my short because that just means that Bitcoin wants to move much, much higher. High risk to reward here in my honest opinion. Now, Bitcoin liquidation map. I mean, we have to talk about this because right now there is around 7 times more cumulative long liquidation leverage in the market. Most of the market is still going long. We came back down recently. We flushed out some longs, as you can see on the 24-hour time frame, or the 12-hour time frame, I should say. We came back to this level, grabbed those longs, and now there are some more people piling into shorts, myself included, from a trading perspective, that is. You can also see that USDT dominance did indeed break below this very long-term trend line, which has been set since basically August of 2017. And the lower that USDT dominance goes, the higher that the total crypto market cap will be going. If we break below this 4% level, it's going to get absolutely incredible in this market. However, if we start bouncing to the upside, this coincides with some strong rejections. Now, I also want you to pay attention to the total 2 crypto market cap because a lot of you are allocated in assets outside of Bitcoin. And you can see that we're still flirting with these highs. The all-time high is actually around 1.73 trillion, and right now we are sitting at 1.7 trillion. We are almost there. And you know what they say about support and resistance trend lines. If we knock on this door enough, we will likely break right through. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many times can we realistically tap into this level and get rejected? I think it's only a matter of time before this goes ahead and explodes to the upside. But for now, as I said, I am heavily allocated into Bitcoin because I am anticipating that Bitcoin will be outperforming most of the market. Just a reminder, of course, there's going to be a couple of altcoins here and there that outperform Bitcoin, but for the most part, as Bitcoin dominance rises, it means that Bitcoin outperforms the rest of the market. I know everyone is already screaming about altcoin season, and believe me, I will be talking about some select alts that I'll be allocated into when the time comes, but right now that is not the case. Very, very happy with my spot Bitcoin. Now, are we going to get this SFP on the daily time frame? Right now, at the time of recording this video, it does look likely. Massive wick to the upside, which you know what tends to happen when we get those wicks, we go ahead and move lower. But if this really is the bullish move that we're looking for, Bitcoin may just not slow down. Let's see what happens here, but in my opinion, it would be more than healthy for Bitcoin to come back down, retest lower levels, and then move higher. A lot of fuckery with this Bitcoin price action, and typically this is what happens when you're trying to break out of a range. We explode to the upside. Everyone thinks this is it. Everyone goes max long. Then we get that SFP, and then we come back down as shorts start to add right above the current all-time highs. That is actually where I am currently positioned. So let's see what happens. Happy to lose my capital from my trading perspective if this trade does not work out. But right now, because of how explosive this is, because of the liquidity to the downside, everyone going max long, I still think that there's a little bit more of a flush to come. And we'll certainly address this in this upcoming week. And that sums up today's video. Bitcoin just made a brand new all-time high, and then we wicked massively down to liquidate some high leveraged longs. Now, are we going to move lower? Is this going to be an SFP on the daily time frame above the range, back down lower, or is this the confirmed breakout and we are moving much, much higher from here? I told you how I'm positioned. I have my spot portfolio. And again, just as a general rule of thumb, it always makes sense to have a much larger spot portfolio than your trading portfolio. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.